Class, Mrs. Calvi here. I'm going to do a quick review on converting percents to decimals. Now, yesterday's lesson, you were converting decimals to percents. It's going to be very similar with converting percents to decimals. Okay, so I'm going to give you a percent and I'm going to show you how to convert that to a decimal. Okay, so if we had 25%, what we're going to do is we're going to look to see where the decimal is currently. Well, we don't have a decimal in this percentage right now, so we know it's at the end. So what we want to do is we want to take wherever the decimal is and we're moving it 2 places to the left, and then we are dropping our percent sign. Okay, so if you remember yesterday, to go from a decimal to a percent, we went 2 places to the right because I said the clue was the percent is always on the right. Now, in order to get rid of this percent sign, we're going 2 decimals to the left. So this doesn't have a decimal, but technically every number has a decimal at the end. So if I had it there, I would go 2 places to the left, and then I would drop my percent sign. So then 25% is equivalent to 0.25. You always want to put the 0 in the ones place if there is not a whole number there, meaning something greater than 1. Okay, so let's try a few more. Okay, so let's say I had 37.5%. I'm going to be taking the decimal. I'm going to go 2 places to the left. So this is what you have to remember. You have to remember which way you're going with your decimal. So we want to get rid of the percent sign. So we are going 2 places to the left, 1, 2, adding our decimal, dropping our percent sign. So 37.5% or 37.5% becomes 0.375. Okay, so pretty simple. Wherever your decimal is, 2 places to the left, drop your percent sign. If your percent does not have a decimal, it's always at the end. Okay, let's say we had a number that was, or a percent rather, that was 3.75%. So we're going to go 2 places to the left, 1, 2. So here, we cannot leave this open space here. So we need a placeholder. You know our placeholder is always going to be 0, right? So we're going to drop the percent sign. So 3.75% becomes 0.0375. All right, so that's pretty simple. We are also going to be converting fractions to percents. So this was converting percents to decimals. Now we're going to take fractions and convert them to percents. Okay, so I have a fraction here. I have 4/5, and I want to convert that to a percent. The easiest thing to do is to first convert it to a decimal. And you know, in order to convert a fraction to a decimal, we're going to divide. 4 divided by 5. Remember, numerator always goes inside of your division box. That is one mistake students commonly make. If you have your dividend and divisor mixed up, you're going to get a wrong answer. Numerator always inside of your division box. So 5 goes into 4 0 times. Now I'm going to add a decimal, add a 0, bring up my decimal. Okay, remember those steps. If you do not bring your decimal right up into your quotient, you're going to forget it. So now I'm looking at 5 goes into 40. 5 goes into 40 8 times at exactly 40. So I converted my fraction into a decimal, right? So 4/5 is equal to 0.8. Well, we remember from yesterday's lesson, in order to go from a decimal to a percent, we're going to move our decimal 2 places to the right and add a percent sign. So let's go ahead and do that. So 2 places to the right, 1, 2, and I cannot leave this open space. I need to put a placeholder. And then I have to remember to add my percent sign. So I do not need this 0 in front. That's not necessary. So then this becomes 80%. So 4/5 we said was equivalent to 0.8, which is also equivalent to 80%. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, I have 7/8 here. In order to convert my fraction into a decimal, I'm going to first need to divide. So numerator inside of my division box. 8 goes into 7 0 times. Add my decimal, add my 0, bring up my decimal. So now I'm looking at 8 going into 70. Well, 8 goes into 70 8 times without going over. 8 times 8 is 64. If I were to do this subtraction, I would be left with 6. I'm going to now add another 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 60 7 times without going over. That's 56. I'm going to be left with 4. I'm going to go out one more 0 because I'm noticing that this will become 40. And I know that 8 goes into 40 exactly 5 times. Let me just erase that. So 8 goes into 40 exactly 5 times. And this would come down to 0 because I would subtract 40 here and I would be down to 0. So 7/8 is equivalent to 0.875 as a decimal. Now I want to change that into a percent, to go from a decimal to a percent. Remember, the clue or the reminder was a percent sign is at the end to the right. So that's going to tell us to move our decimal to the right. So I'm going to go 2 places to the right, 1, 2. It lands in between my 7 and my 5, and that ends up giving me 87.5%. So 7/8 is equivalent to 0.875, which is equivalent to 87.5%. Okay, I will talk to you soon.